With the first pick, the Phoenix Suns select DeAndre Ayton.
DeAndre Ayton, I think, is a special talent.
He's a guy now that's the modern day athlete at that size that you're looking for, that could do a lot of different things offensively.
64-win season done after 2 rounds.
Monty got so upset with Ayton that he said, "You frickin' quit on us."
All right, DeAndre Ayton said, "I got nothing to prove in this league. I'm a max player, and I'll continue to be a max player."
What's truly agonizing in sports is when a player fails to reach their potential solely due to their own lack of passion for the game. Recently, DeAndre Ayton is perhaps the most notable example of this. He's a player who is given all of the physical gifts, but none of the mental ones. Nowadays, Ayton's numbers have declined to career lows in Portland. But at one point in Phoenix, he was looked at as a surefire all-star and future top center in the league. So what went wrong? Today we'll be investigating the case of DeAndre Ayton, and analyzing how his career went on a downward spiral so suddenly. At the University of Arizona, DeAndre Ayton in his lone freshman season performed well, and had tons of hype surrounding his name. He averaged 20 points and 12 rebounds per game, excelling as an offensive-minded big man. His most frequent NBA comparison was Joel Embiid, and he was even touted by many as the next David Robinson. Entering the 2018 NBA draft, DA was seen as a far better prospect than future superstars like Luka Doncic and Trae Young. With Ayton, the belief was that a team would be getting an automatic 2010 guy at the absolute worst. At his best, he could be one of the greatest big men of all time. Hefty praise for sure, but that doesn't mean there weren't a few concerns surrounding the young fella. One part of Ayton's game that was a red flag throughout high school and into college was his defense. His rim protection and off-ball defense were below average. He didn't move his feet well, he struggled to locate his man, and players would often cut around him for easy buckets. Given that he was a 7-footer with a freak athlete build, the fact that he had so many mental lapses on this end of the ball was alarming. These problems were magnified in the 2018 NCAA March Madness tournament. In round 1, the 4th-seeded Arizona Wildcats were blown out in a major upset by the 13th-seeded Buffalo Bulls. In this huge game, Ayton played mediocre, putting up 14 points and 13 rebounds. His offense was okay, while his defense was atrocious. Buffalo attacked him relentlessly in the paint, and Ayton looked helpless. NBA scouts were concerned. Why was the prospect with the best athletic ability in the draft about as intimidating on defense as Kevin Hart? Where was his intensity? Where were his instincts? In the end, though, these problems were brushed aside by most scouts. His offense was just too good to ignore, and his defense had the potential to become lethal if he just put in the work. He was seen as the safe pick at number 1, while Luka Doncic, picked 2 slots later at number 3, was viewed as a risky move. Upon being drafted number 1 to the Phoenix Suns, Ayton was asked to define what NBA success looked like to him. "Definitely getting to my second contract. That's my success," he said. A fair quote on the surface, but it did raise some eyebrows from those who would have liked to have heard him say that winning a championship was his success. Still, Ayton showed flashes of his star potential in his rookie campaign. He finished 3rd in the Rookie of the Year race, averaging a solid 16 and 10 on 58% field goal shooting. Impressive numbers, especially considering he didn't have a good point guard or coach to work with on his 19-win Suns team. NBA analysts wanted to see Ayton get the ball more, and desired a higher level of aggression from him on offense. He shot 34% from downtown at college, but didn't make a single 3 in his rookie year. His shot attempts stood at 12 per game, which ranked just 4th on his team. But these were all things that appeared fixable with the help of a strong coach. Once the experienced Monty Williams was hired as a replacement for the inept Igor Kokoskov, Suns fans were incredibly optimistic. However, what the Valley failed to realize is that one thing coaches can't teach is determination, which people would soon find out DeAndre lacked. Off the court, Ayton was developing a passion for a different type of game: video games. In 2022, it was reported that he was playing NBA 2K and other video games for up to 5 hours a day consistently. He often played them deep into the night after games or practices until 4 or 5 a.m. He then woke up for the new day at 6 a.m., usually getting just 2 hours of sleep on average as a result. It's no wonder that there were so many questions surrounding his effort. Bro seemed more focused on his my career in 2K than his actual career in real life. A red flag? Maybe. But most saw it as a cute extracurricular. Either way, the expectations for Ayton in his upcoming sophomore season were sky high. It was time for him to prove his critics wrong. What's this? Suspended for drug use? Seriously? Essentially, Ayton had been using an illegal drug called diuretic, which are banned from the league because they can be used to mask performance-enhancing drugs. This sabotaged his season, as he was suspended for 25 games and only played 38 games total. When he did step on the court, he continued to show flashes of his potential, averaging 18 points, 11 rebounds, and a career-high 1.5 blocks. The Suns had their most successful season in years, winning 34 out of 72 games, and winning 8 straight times in the bubble. They didn't make the playoffs, but it was clear that there was something special brewing in the Valley. This hype was only amplified when in November 2020, the Suns traded for star point guard Chris Paul. CP3 was the perfect pairing with Ayton, finally giving the young center a proper floor general and facilitator. Everything around Ayton was falling right into place. He had a great head coach, a phenomenal passing point guard to set him up well, and an excellent co-star to help carry the load. On top of this, the 2020-21 season was a contract year for him. If he played well, he was going to get that bag he had long coveted. And play well he did. The 2020-21 campaign for both Ayton and the Suns was extremely successful. They went 51-21, the 5th highest winning percentage in their franchise's history, with DeAndre continuing to show his value. He was no Luka Doncic, but many Suns fans thought that if they won the 2021 championship, it would solidify that DA was the right choice at the #1 pick. Where Ayton really shined was the 2021 playoffs. In the Western Conference semifinals against the Nuggets, in which the Suns won in a sweep, Ayton showed flashes of his defensive potential, holding MVP center Nikola Jokic to poor numbers. He played so well that he even got a compliment from Jokic, saying he guards me really well. While it's true that Ayton did a good job guarding Jokic in this series, further context is required to understand why DA had success. Jokic's best teammate during this series was Michael Porter Jr., with the two guards in the starting lineup for Denver being Facundo Campazzo and Austin Rivers. Since Jamal Murray was hurt, there was no proper second option he could defer to, so it was easy for Ayton and the entire Suns defense to focus on just Jokic and limit him. In the Western Conference Finals, though, is where Ayton really had his shining moment. In Game 2, with his team down by 1, he threw down a buzzer-beating alley-oop that won it for the Suns. This was why he was the #1 pick, for iconic championship-winning plays like these. The Suns went on to beat the Clippers and advanced to the finals for the first time since 1993. Some called it a cakewalk run, others called it a product of their opponents being hurt. But for the Suns, they didn't care. Cope and Seathlow, bro. They were in the finals, and in just Ayton's 3rd season, he had reached the biggest stage in basketball. This was the peak of DeAndre Ayton's empire in Phoenix. It was all downhill from here. After the Suns jumped out to a 2-0 lead against the Milwaukee Bucks in the finals, they lost 4 in a row, thus dropping the series. DA had a poor finals showing. He was inconsistent, having a few promising games while putting up stinkers in others. He disappeared in 2 crucial games. Games 4 and 6 saw him score just 6 and 12 points. Ayton shot just 10.7 times per game, 6 less than Chris Paul did, and 13 less than Devin Booker. In a time where the Suns needed him to step up as the second option, he failed to do so. On defense, Giannis destroyed him, forcing Ayton to either foul him or get out of the way on many of his drives to the rim. Above all else, DA's biggest flaw was his mental side of the game. He regressed as the series went on, often showing hesitation and missing bunny opportunities to score. His backup, Frank Kaminsky, outplayed him in the closeout Game 6. Despite this brutal end to a great season, hopes were still high for DA. But once the 2021 offseason rolled around, things would start to get uncomfortable in the Valley. After what was an overall impressive playoff run, Ayton wanted a bag, demanding nothing less than a max contract. Phoenix wanted to keep him, but the prospect of handing him a max was intimidating. Instead, they gave Mikal Bridges a 4-year, $90 million deal, and kicked the can down the road regarding Ayton. This frustrated DA, who said before the 2021-22 season that he loved Phoenix, but he was really disappointed that the deal wasn't done yet. He said he wanted to be respected, implying that the Suns organization wasn't showing him any. It was worrying to some, but once Phoenix started winning games, this awkward situation was forgotten. The Suns exploded in the 2021-22 season, earning the most wins in their franchise's history, 64. Ayton played a key role in that. He wasn't an all-star or all-NBA player, but he did what the team needed him to do. The good old-fashioned saying in sports goes as followed: when you're winning, everyone loves you. But once adversity hits, how one responds separates the real from the fake. After having the greatest regular season in franchise history, the Suns horrifically imploded in the 2022 playoffs. They lost in round 2 to the Mavericks in 7, with Game 7 being one of the most embarrassing chokes ever. In this winner-go-home game, the Suns got destroyed by Luka Doncic. Ayton played horribly, logging just 17 minutes total because he was benched in the second half by Monty Williams. DA showed terrible effort in this game, so Monty promptly benched him and told reporters after the game it was internal.
DA only played 17 minutes tonight, and so he didn't play most of the fourth quarter. Is there any reason why? Is he hurt or
it's internal?
On the sidelines, fans overheard Williams calling Ayton out for quitting on the team. This was the beginning of a heated feud between the two that would last the rest of Ayton's time in Phoenix. The two didn't speak for the entire summer after this event. In the biggest game of the season, Ayton no-showed and was inexplicably yanked to the bench. A shocking ending that harshly revealed Ayton's flaws. Once the season was over though, DA quickly shifted his focus from the game to the paycheck. A week following this L, his camp once again reiterated their disappointment in the lack of a max contract from the Suns. Now, with free agency approaching, he finally had the chance to receive his money, either from Phoenix or somewhere else. Just a few weeks into the offseason, he got his wish, agreeing to a 4-year, $133 million contract extension from the Indiana Pacers. Not only did DA get his money, but he was gone from the franchise that he had slowly grown quite the dislike for. Moving on from Phoenix was a relief. I'm happy for you, lil bro. Wait, you're telling me the Suns matched it? So after all the rumors, speculation, and drama, Ayton remained in the Valley. He was happy he got paid, but was still annoyed at the fact Phoenix didn't give him a 5-year deal. Since he was being paid for 4 years and not 5, he lost out on $40 million by not getting that extra year. DA blamed Robert Sarver for this, the Suns owner who would end up getting the boot from the league for being racist as hell. Privately, Coach Monty wasn't happy that the Suns kept Ayton. He wanted to trade the big fella for Miles Turner, but Phoenix refused. Frustration and momentum was boiling before the 2022-23 campaign, and things wouldn't get much better once the team started playing. Monty and Ayton continued to have problems with each other during the season, even getting involved in a verbal altercation on the sidelines in December 2022. It was clear that the two weren't seeing eye to eye. Now that the Suns weren't winning as much anymore, a spotlight was beginning to shine on Ayton's shortcomings. Throughout his 5-year career thus far, he had never really evolved as a player. He always remained the same guy. He didn't get to the free throw line, never developed an outside shot, relied too heavily on a passing point guard to excel, and he never gave the heart or effort fans wanted to see, like diving for loose balls or hustling for rebounds. He was just a guy coasting off his natural talent, and people were starting to realize that. The Suns managed to crack the playoffs at the 4th seed with 45 wins, with Ayton once again struggling in the postseason. In round 1 against the LA Clippers, Ayton was slammed throughout the series for his lack of aggression and overall soft play. On many instances where he should have thrown the hammer down in the post, he instead softly threw up layups that were spiked out of midair. While the stats for this series may look passable on paper, in reality, he looked scared and nervous on the floor. With Kevin Durant and Devin Booker receiving all of the defensive attention, it was Ayton who was supposed to be the X factor, but he shrunk. The Suns managed to defeat the Clippers in 5 though, advancing to play the Nuggets in round 2 where all hell broke loose. Phoenix had championship aspirations, but were slapped in the face by a real contender in Denver. In this 6-game series that the Nuggets won 4-2, Ayton just barely averaged 10 points per game. His passion for the game of basketball had gone down the drain, and it showed with his on and off the court actions. After the Suns dropped the first 2 games to the Nuggets and went down 0-2, Game 3 at home was a win or die situation. They managed to survive and win Game 3, but it had nothing to do with Ayton, who scored just 4 points on 2 of 6 shooting. He was promptly benched by Monty Williams again in the 4th quarter of this game, with Jock Landale replacing him in crunch time. Jock Landale over the #1 pick? You gotta be kidding me. Ayton took this benching as a shot to his ego. Not only was he seen ignoring his teammates like Chris Paul on the bench as this happened, but after the game, he refused to speak to the media, storming out of the arena before they could talk to him. Dissing the media is one thing, but dissing your teammates because you're playing like a Pop-Tart is just plain disrespectful. If all this wasn't bad enough, before the game, Ayton was caught playing 2K. Yes, before a huge playoff game that could decide the season. The big fella wasn't in the gym working, but instead was on the Xbox working on his MyPlayer. And then, in real life, he scored 4 points. Bro was focused on the wrong game. In the following Game 4, Ayton continued to struggle. He got into foul trouble and scored 8 points, while Jokic dropped 53 points on his dome. Jock Landale outplayed him once more. In Game 5, guess what happened? He sucked again, and his team got blown out. DA was completely checked out here. His season ended prematurely, because in Game 6, it was reported that he was out with a rib injury he suffered in Game 5. What's interesting about this injury is that a few Sun sources reported that Ayton actually ruled himself out a few days before tip-off, and didn't even give the doctors a chance to assess him on game day. This rubbed his teammates like Booker the wrong way, who would have liked to have seen him tough it out or let the doctors examine him more. Regardless, the Suns got destroyed in Game 6, marking the second year in a row they were blown out in an elimination game at home. Monty Williams was fired a few days after this, with many blaming Ayton as being the driving force behind this move. But not only did the coach go, the #1 pick was on the way out too. Ayton was showing more signs of disdain for his teammates and organization. During the summer when he was playing for Team Bahamas, his home country for the Olympics, he called his teammates on that squad the best he's ever had. He further talked about how much he appreciated them for having each other's backs and sticking together. A shot at his son's teammates? Maybe. Maybe not. But an interesting quote nonetheless. In late September 2023, DeAndre Ayton was traded to Portland in a 3-team deal that gave the Suns a new starting center in Jusuf Nurkic. In his first interview with the Blazers, Ayton hinted he had requested a trade from Phoenix, thanking the Suns for quote-unquote being accommodating to his wishes. Even after they gave him his max money, even after they fired the coach he hated, he still wanted to go. In Portland, things haven't gotten much better for him. The man who proudly nicknamed himself Dominatin' is having one of the worst seasons of his career. His points per game are near the lowest they've ever been, with the rest of his statistical categories showing no improvement. His free throw attempts are disgustingly low, standing at a mind-boggling 1.3 per game, which is 5th lowest in the league out of all centers. His field goal percentage is the most inefficient it's been since his second season. Over 6 years, Ayton's made little to no progression in his game, but his poor statistics don't tell the full story for how disappointing he's been. According to an article released by The Athletic, DA's first few months in Portland were highlighted by tardiness and tantrums, with one sports writer comparing Ayton to Hassan Whiteside, a former Blazers center who stuffed the stat sheets but had little impact on winning. If you ask Ayton though, he'll tell you criticism like this is unfair. In January 2024, when asked about his lack of improvement as a player, he responded by saying, "I got nothing to prove in this league. I'm a max player and I'll continue to be a max player." Over the years, it's become exactly clear the type of player Ayton is. That being a lazy, unmotivated waste of potential. And it ain't just the coaches or media who notice this. His teammates have too. In November 2023, Devin Booker played against his former colleague and gave him a backhanded compliment after the game.
I'm happy we came out with the win. He played extra hard tonight. I seen that, and my challenge for him is to play like that every night.
Damn, shots fired. Patrick Beverley, a veteran guard known for his tough mentality and hard play, said in May 2023 that 50% of NBA players don't love basketball. It's safe to say that DeAndre Ayton is one of them. The non-stop video games, lackadaisical effort on the court, undisciplined defense, poor development since year one, playoff implosions, and reported tardiness and laziness all point to it. DeAndre Ayton's basketball story is the tale of a man given all of the physical attributes to succeed, only to fail to reach his ceiling solely due to a lack of mental toughness. What he wanted when he arrived in the league was a max contract, and once he got it, his work was done. So many other players would kill for this guy's God-given durability, wingspan, and frame. Stars who spend years without having the proper supporting cast would have loved to have a team as talented as the ones he had in Phoenix. DeAndre Ayton was given it all, but he squandered what could have been a superstar career because he chose comfort and luxury over blood, sweat, and tears. He is the perfect example of how gifted talent can only take you so far. What makes the difference in the NBA is not just raw skill. Rather, having a passion for the game and a hard work ethic to go along with it is what truly separates the legends from the forgotten.
And Ayton, who could have gone down as a legend, will instead be forgotten.